away, go away.
Yes. Is that Peter? Who is that? And that just texted that. Or send that in the chat.
Yeah, it was me.
Okay,
Peter.
I will. I'll double check. Because I just did them all yesterday, and sometimes it shows that they go off, but
Okay,
here's
thank
the
you.
other thing. Check your spam mail, because it might
Okay.
have popped into spam.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but I'll double check too. Yep. Okay, so we're gonna go over the officials' signals, and we'll, if you have your rule book, you can look in your rule book at the same time, but we also have the images. We'll go through them and talk a little bit about each one. And typically, I mean, sometimes I'll show you what they look like, but it's really hard in the video. So, and here's the thing to keep in mind. When we are doing our signals, I always say that you need to like divide yourself in half, and one side of your body is doing that side of the court and the other side of your body does the other side. So you have to learn to be able to do whatever you do on one side, you have to go and do it on the other side. So that's really important to keep in mind, that when you are, you know, you have to keep them consistent to both sides. So the first official is an illegal alignment and improper serve. And it's basically your arm is outstretched and you just move it in a circular motion. And so in this case, what would warrant us to call this? What are we looking for in order for us to make this call? Does anyone know? Just try, unmute yourselves. Does anyone know?
Yes, it would be like a
in the
foot
wrong,
fault.
like the wrong position.
Okay.
So number 6 should be serving, but 7 served.
Okay. What did you say, Peter?
Foot faults. Is that what you said? Yeah,
well, the foot
improper
fault
serve.
would
Oh,
be-
improper server, sorry.
Yep, improper server, that would, so the foot fault, you would point to the line. But yeah, so the, yeah, it would be in the wrong server, or say position number 4 has crossed position number 3 before they were supposed to. Just things like that. So that's what we would make that signal for. So, all right, next one. So the line violation. So Peter, that's where if they step on the line when they do serve, then we would make the line violation. What would be another line? Is there any other line violations that we could call other than a server?
Would it be stepping outside of the court, like starting outside of the certain boundaries outside of the court?
So there's kind of a fine line with that. And we're all different when we look at that. If I see someone outside the court, I get them in the court before I start. Or if I'm the R2 and I see someone trying to step out, I'll say, get your foot in. So that one, that's more of that preventative officiating, which we want to do a lot more of if we can, especially at the lower levels. We really just want to help them, remind them of what some of the rules are. So the other line violation that we really do look for is center line violation. And that's where you just point to the line. So you would either point to the end line if it is a line, they step on the line when they serve, or the center line. Now, when it comes to a center line violation, what is the rule in order for us to make that call? What are we really looking for if we call a center line violation?
Is it when their foot turns?
Well, that's tricky.
Foot across the line.
Yeah, like their foot crosses the line and then it turns over the line into the other side of the court.
Right. So you have to remember that they have to go over. Now they can be on the line, correct? That's okay, because both sides have access to the line, but it's once they go to the other side and completely cross that line, that would be the center line violation. So.
And a center line violation occurs with other body parts as well. So if you have a knee that's across the center line, that's a center line violation. If your hand is completely across the center line, it's a center line violation. It's not just the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So remember, those of you that referee USA Volleyball, it's a little bit different. right?
Yeah,
So is
so
the net fault. Net fault for high school is different than college and USA, and we'll get to that.
so the center line goes from infinity and above.
What do you mean? What's infinity and above? What do you mean?
So by crossing the center line in the air underneath the net,
No, it's contact with the court.
contact with the court.
Question.
Thank you.
Contact with the court.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Is that just inbounds also, right, Robin?
Right. You can cross the center line extended outside of the court. You just can't make contact with another player. Like you know, if the ball is still on your side of the court, but you are outside the court, across the center line extended, making a play on the ball, that's fine.
I guess verification or my question, Robin, was if another player knees another player on the other side of the net, but they never touch the floor across the line, that'd still be a center line violation?
No, that's
Okay.
an accident.
Okay.
Volleyball sometimes, you know. Two girls. All right, next one is an illegal hit. So we know we just raise our hand, we go up with that. So give some examples of what we'd look for an illegal hit,
Carrie.
Carrie.
Is that when a back row player crosses the line? Like hitting in front of the 10-foot line?
Nope, that would be a different signal.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be considered a back row attack. So basically.
Yeah, that's that waving one, right? The kind of waving hand one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is correct.
So who knows what the rule book says an illegal attack hit is, or an illegal hit is? What are the words that the rule book uses? Because that's important, right? When we talk to coaches, when they ask you those questions or the captain asks you that question, you want to give them information from the rule book. Anybody know? I don't know.
I know.
What is Joe? You know Joe? I see you talking, but I don't hear any words. No, Jim. Jim, not Joe.
Is that me?
Yeah. Did
The
you?
ball, a back row player gotta be, if it's a back row player, the ball has gotta be completely above the height of the net.
That's right, for an illegal attack, but for an
Yes.
illegal hit, number 3.
Is that like a carry or a lift?
Prolonged contact.
Yep, that's what it is.
Prolonged contact.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
Prolonged contact.
That's
That's right.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
That's right.
So prolong would be, you know, comes to rest a little too long.
Resting, yeah,
Yep, something like that. And that can be anywhere on their body, correct?
right.
I mean, they could even have it to make a pass, but it actually rested in their arm. So
Right.
yeah, it's just, it comes to rest too long. Prolonged contact, and that's the key word, to use prolonged contact. So, all right, any other, yep, let's go next one, delay of service. So this one, when you're doing the lower levels, how much time do they get to serve?
5 seconds.
Okay, so is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
No, you should say 1001, 1002, maybe.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
you give time, right?
Yeah.
1, 2,
Right.
3. Because sometimes those little ones, they're trying so hard to get that ball over the net, and they have this routine. So we're gonna give them a little bit. Now, if they get too close, we might remind them, you need to speed up just a little, right? Do it very nice so that they're like, oh yeah. But really you need to, when you get to the higher levels, as soon as you blow your whistle for serve, you start counting. 1, 2, they're much quicker, so it's not too much, but occasionally you might get a player that tends to extend that time, so it's good to watch. Oftentimes, if the other coach notices that a player is taking too much time, I will, when my hands are to my side, I will count with my fingers on my leg so the coach knows I'm counting. So they know I'm aware, I can see that they're going long, and the coach is like, okay, they're counting. So then you know, it's on my radar. So that's a good way to have that nonverbal communication. But anyway, okay, next one. So over the net, you know, we just make our hand up like this, either side. So what would constitute us making this call? Anyone?
When a blocker reaches over.
Okay. So what needs to happen, Chris, in order for that call to be done if a blocker reaches over? What else goes with that?
Has to cross the plane of the net.
What does?
Their hands.
A player legally contacts the ball.
That's what I was wondering, yeah.
On the other, over the plane of the
Does there
net.
have to be
So it's
contact
still
on the ball?
Yeah, it's on the other team side.
Okay.
So like
Yeah.
maybe on a block they reach over, it's still, the ball is still on the other team's side, but they like reach over and maybe, you know, tip it to the left or tip it to the right.
Right.
So they're over the net into the other team's part of the court to play the ball.
Coach, no part of that ball was in the plane of the net when your
Right.
blocker contacted the ball.
That's what you guys need to look for, is you need to make sure the ball never entered the plane of the net and that player really did penetrate over the net. So if the ball's not in the plane, then yes, then that is over the net. So that's so important to watch where that ball is coming into. Because sometimes really close.
When would that be okay with a block?
On the third hit.
Right. On the
Yeah.
third hit or on the second hit, right? If there's nobody there that's going to play the ball, and for judgment, that ball would have traveled over the net. That can be blocked. That's not interference.
That was a fun one a couple years ago at Franklin Pierce. One of the two teams was overpassing terribly. And on their overpasses, it's about to go in the plane of the net. But the setter was a speedy little girl, and she was down at the bottom of the net, ready to try to play it out of the net and save it to her team for a second hit. The blocker for White River went up. She made contact with it, but there was a player in the vicinity to be able to play the ball. She made contact with the ball before it was in the plane of the net. I called her for over the net. It happened again later in the match. Coach is furious. Player is furious at me. And I said to him both times, I called Captain over, said to her both times, the ball was not in the plane of the net and their setter is speedy and she's there. So don't forget that little bit of information too. If there's nobody there to play it and there's an overpass, I'm going to let the girl go ahead and block that ball or hit that ball down. But if there's a player there ready to play it, I got to wait. She has to wait until it actually reaches the plane of the net before she can play.
Let's not get confused though with a block and with an attack, right? Because there no way, never, ever, not once can the opponent attack the ball on my side of the net. Whether there's nobody there, whether I assume the ball is going to go into the plane, it only is for a block. Good.
Good. Next. All right, next. Net fault or net serve is a very simple, just kind of your hand goes forward. And one thing that we're kind of sticklers about is how we have our hands. So a lot of people, you know, when they put their hands out, they don't tuck their thumb. We like you to tuck your thumb. So when you're pointing to the net, make sure your thumb is always down. You're not hitchhiking with your thumb up. Put your thumb down. So it's just a simple thing into the net. In high school, what is the rule for a net fault? How do we call a net fault? What's the rule for high school?
Any part of the body touching any part of the net.
Yep, at any time, correct?
Yes.
So in high school, a net is a net is a net. Yep. The only thing that can touch the net on a player is their hair.
The hair.
Yeah.
The only thing. So yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if the ball's not in the same vicinity of them and they touch it, you call it. Hopefully they'll change that, but right now that's the way it is until they do.
And this includes the net cables as well. So that whatever is outside of the antenna before it attaches to the pole, that's still considered the net. So if they contact that, the net cables, that's a net fault.
And the
Which is
net serve,
different than club, different than college.
yeah. On a net serve, we know if it serves into the net, it's a net serve. So that one's simple.
Do like hair ribbon? I know they're not supposed to have this stuff in there, but I guess I'm thinking of clubs, so never mind. Never mind.
You don't, hair is fine, right?
So
And high school volleyball has become a lot less stringent on what kids put in their hair, right? So like a barrette, that's fine. They can have a bandana, you know, like rolled up or a sweatband or whatever, as long as it's what, less than 2 inches or something. Yeah, it's a lot less ticky-tack.
Do we consider that hair though, or is it like a hair accessory, like a bandana, let's say? Is that considered hair, or is that considered part of the uniform?
I would be shocked if she could get just that to touch the net and not her hair. And I guess I would have to decide when I'm in the moment.
Yeah.
Am I going to blow the whistle or not? No, it's not like a uniform, right? A uniform in the net is a net fault. So if she can get her bandana in the net without getting her head in the net, I'm going to let that one go. My counterparts, you feel free to disagree with me.
Oh,
No,
Or if
sounds
I
pretty
say
much
something
impossible.
not true.
I don't
Right,
think
yeah,
I've ever
That'd
seen
be-
that
I
happen.
would say
So
impossible.
if he did, I'm probably still letting that one go. So, all right. So an illegal attack. Here's the one with the back row player. So it is swinging it forward. What is the rule and what would actually constitute for an illegal attack? What are we looking for?
If the back row player is on the line and the ball is completely above the height of the net, that constitutes as a back row attack.
Good.
Or if a back row setter sets the ball above the height of the net
Mm-hmm.
and the block touches it, it becomes a back row attack.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Or
Good.
it
What if?
travels up in the net.
Yep. Or what if she sets it and she's going to jump set to an outside player, but it goes over onto the other side and she
It's a
jumps
back
at
row
it.
attack.
Back row
if her
attack.
hands are above the height of the net,
Yep.
then it's a back row attack.
Yep.
So
Okay,
it's not the hands, Will. It's where the ball is.
ball.
This
Oh.
one is where the ball is.
Got
Yeah.
you.
The ball is completely above the height of the net, but I'm standing, not jumping or whatever. It's an illegal attack. And is it this or is it this? Because it's kind of hard to see in that, right?
In high school, it's still the old way.
Turn towards
Forward,
the other team.
right?
It goes straight forward.
Forward.
Yep. So it doesn't go across our face. We're not washing our face off. We're going to go straight forward.
Like
Fair
that.
to say.
Same as club.
Federation is different from USA.
Yeah.
So now I'll tell a quick experience. I was at a middle school and there was a back row player, short little thing. And for whatever reason, the front row player wasn't playing the ball. So she kept coming up in front of the 10-foot line. She would jump up and hit the ball over. Okay, but she's like 5 foot. So she can't even jump as high as the net, right? And the coach kept yelling at me, she's a back row player. Yes, she is, coach. Yes, she is. And he had to, even afterwards, show me the rule book. A back row player cannot attack the ball in front of the 10-foot line. And so he went, he read all of it, he read every little aspect that needs to happen within that. And I said, that's exactly right. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. He didn't understand that everything has to happen. The ball above the height of the net, the player jumps in front of the 10-foot line. All these things have to happen in order for it to be considered the back row attack. So,
It's position of the ball.
You didn't understand the definition of attack.
correct. So that's why it's important that we understand and the verbiage. So, okay. So a legal block and screening, hands straight up, face palms out. Explain what that would constitute.
A back row player blocks the ball, or in a composite block. If a back row player is in a composite block, that would constitute as a back row block.
What if the back row player doesn't touch the ball?
It doesn't matter if that back row player is in a process of being in the block, composite block, and it becomes a back row block.
Okay.
Jim, tell
Or
us.
if a libero. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Jim, tell us what a composite block is.
When two or more people are together at the net.
Right. So if one player who's a legal blocker contacts the ball, but the illegal blocker is participating in that block, even though she didn't contact the ball, she's an illegal blocker.
True.
Good. Who was just saying something about
Peter was.
Peter? What did you say,
Oh
Peter?
yeah, I was gonna say, or if the libero attempts to block it or
Right.
does block it.
You're right. Liberos cannot attempt to block. Good.
Good.
Oh, me. Sorry.
Question on the,
Actually, can we go back to the illegal? Just, you don't have to go back, Steve. Just one more thing about the illegal attack, because Peter brought up a good point about the libero, is that if the libero sets in the front zone and the ball is attacked above the height of the net, is that considered an illegal attack?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's something to look for also. So remember, if the libero takes the ball in
Right hands.
overhand action in front of the 10-foot line, then that would be the illegal attack also. Okay, but watch the height of the net. Remember, the ball still needs to be above the height of the net if the attacker takes it over and crosses the plane of the net. So make sure we watch for that. So, and I loved it because Robin and I had a really great experience last year with a college match. And the captain, who was the setter, was arguing with her about the call because the libero took it and the hitter hit it, and Robin quickly made that call, back row attack, and the captain just arguing with her. I looked at the coach and I said, "Coach, do you understand?" Yes, and then he yells at his player, "Get back!" It was hilarious. Sorry, it was hilarious. It was a fun night.
That must have been Highline Pierce.
It was.
I had a quick question on
Oh,
the
good old Highline.
Well, that's the night that Coach Littleman said he was wrong, and I got to say, "Yes, Coach."
Oh, wow. I
That's a
come
great-
from Highline, so that's big for the Littlemans.
Yes, that was a great night. It was so fun.
Highline 0607.
Anyway, okay. So,
Will?
go ahead.
Will had a question. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I had a question on the screening on the last signal, illegal block and screening.
Mm-hmm.
You notice that the players are up front, they're tight together. They all have, the front 3-row players are kind of tight together because they're going to cross. They're all facing the net and they got their arms up. And you notice the back row player has to move to be able to see the ball. Would you call screening, or would you call screening when that screen moves to make sure that they can't see the ball?
So a lot of things that go into effect with the screening. Some of them are, yes, you have to actually see, are the players lining up to where they could create a screen? Are the players in the back row, are they moving to try to get around it? So you're looking for that. The other thing is, you got to watch the trajectory of the ball.
Right, if it goes over the
High
screen.
enough, then there's no call. Is it actually going over the block or over the screen? Is that really happening? And then really, if the players mention it, the captain comes up to you, say, "Can you watch the screen?" Now you can watch. Because from our angle, it really is hard to tell side to side what they can't really see. So a screening call is a very hard judgment call. It really is. But if you can notice a potential, and then you have players come up to you, or the captain comes up to you and say, "Can you please watch the screen?" Now you have to be aware of it. So now you're watching. You're watching the trajectory, you're watching all that. Now the next step is, do you want to call it or do you want to do preventative? In some cases, you can do preventative and say to the other captain and say, "You need to separate your players." That would help maybe ease a little bit tense game or, you know, things like that. Preventative officiating is usually in the lower levels, especially, is a better way because it's a teaching moment. In the upper levels, it may be just if the R2 even notices it, the R2 could even say to the coach, hey coach, you need to separate your players. So it's just a quick little comment. If nothing happens, then yes, call it for sure. Because you've been made aware of it, you've tried to do preventative and nothing's being done, you call that.
Thank
So
you.
when the captain comes up to you and you're the R1 and she asks you to watch for a screen, I'd give her the rule. There are 5 things that need to happen in order for there to be a screen. This, and this. I'll watch for the screen. And I'm going to do this so everybody in the gym knows, oh, she's talking about a screen. So then maybe they move on their own. But like Tina said, if I think that they're even close to being a screen, I'm going to give some preventive officiating. I can tell you I've done this 20 years and I've never called a screen. And that's not good or bad. It's just I haven't. And it's a pretty, like she said, tough call to make. Half the time people don't know, but if you don't call it, half the time they do know. So I don't know. It's a tough call. That's part of the.
Yeah, I was just asking. I had called it before, but it was only because I saw a front row player purposely moving after I saw a back row player on the other team, you know, trying to move, and the ball went directly over her hands. So that's when I called it.
There you go. Good. Okay. Moving
Yeah,
on.
but there's there is another screen. The back row player is standing right in front of the server, and that ball goes over them. Yeah.
Yep.
You can either let them know to move on the side or bend down, but if they're constantly standing in front in the proximity of the server, and that ball goes over, that constitutes as a screen too.
You're right. Nice, Jim.
Okay,
We're at 8:10. 8:10, so we're gonna have to burn through these a little bit.
Yep. Okay, so ball touch.
Not in Hawaii, it's only 5:30.
You know, that's true, right? So
It's
when we
quarter
say
after
ball
5.
touch, remember we want to keep our thumbs in and we just keep them in touch. If the ball touches a player and goes out of bounds, right? That's what we're calling. One thing to remember, the ball has to touch a player and it stays on that side, their side of the court to be called ball touch. If a player touches it and it crosses the center line, then it's an out. So, all right, next.
4 hits.
4 hits. I will kid you not, even in college, in my brain, I count the contacts. You still count in your head. Soon as a player makes contact, 1 in your head, 2, 3, we should go over, right? Even in college, I still count. Because there will be times if the ball's going so fast and it goes bump to one and bump to another one, you know there's 1 more left. But the players may lost track of how many they have. That's why you keep track in your head. Always count how many contacts. A double hit, that would be a setter, right? Or somebody
Most
trying to
times a
set,
setter.
right?
Mhm.
That sometimes it's hard to call because of our angle. We have a different angle than a coach does, than players, parents. So really watch the ball coming into the hands and being released.
So
That's really important.
2 separate attempts to play the ball.
Yep.
So if she passes it off her hands and it hits her in the head, that's 2 separate attempts to play the ball.
Yep.
Even if it's the first contact.
Yeah. And sometimes, when you're starting to watch setters, there'll be some setters that it'll come into one hand and she releases with another hand. It's fast, but it came here and left there. So that's 2 separate attempts. So, all right. Ball lands in bounds. Are the lines in? Yes. Any questions? No, we're good on that one. Out of bounds, same thing, just straight out. Antennas, if it hits the antennas, we call out. So.
Over or outside the antenna, right?
Yep. You begin to serve. You blow whistle and just swing your arm across. What other side? Substitutions. Our hands, our fists are closed. They're closed now? Wait,
Yeah.
Change
high
this
school
year.
now?
Close.
Change this year.
This
year.
is a change? That's
Yes.
what I couldn't remember if it was this year.
Came out last February. Yep.
Yes, now everything's the same. Okay, so close fists when you make a substitution. Authorization to enter. So this one is really, it's a simple thing, but it's so important to make sure how you stand as the R2. You want to make sure that you are away from the players, kind of, that when you push your arm to go in, that you're not close to them, so it doesn't look like you're trying to, you know, give them a goose and scoot them in or touch them, right? So make sure you give space. And some people, I don't know what it is. There's some people that sometimes their hands are like this. It just doesn't look good. So close your hand or tight. Anyway, so that's, yep. Anything else? Point, we know that. Thumb down. Replay, reserve, right? Any questions on that one? No? When we would do that? A timeout, so we give timeout the side, and then we would point to the side that's getting the timeout. So, yep, so that would be the timeout, and then to the team that gets it. You point to the court. Officials timeout. It's just simple up here. How many official timeouts do we have? Say that again, Will. Unmute.
As many as we want.
Exactly. Isn't that nice? That's right. We have as many as we want. Okay, so the unnecessary delay, it's with your cards. Typically, you'd go to the yellow one first, and then you put it to the side of the whichever team is getting it.
Yeah.
And then you point to that court. So if the one side is getting it, you'd put it here with the yellow, and then you'd point to that. So unnecessary delay, you know, that could be maybe somebody came on the court with jewelry or not getting their lineup in time. Whatever, you know, I mean, there's things that you can do to help prevent delays. Instead of giving one, but sometimes you have to, it reminds them.
Most delays come from timeout situations where teams aren't breaking the huddle for the timeout fast enough after they've already been given the warning whistle, after the horn has already gone off, or they spill water during the timeout. And if they spill water in front of the bench, they got to clean it up before the timeout's over. And if they can't get it cleaned up before the timeout's over, then that's going to be a delay.
I have given, and I know probably wasn't the best way to do it, but I did it anyway. I gave an unnecessary delay for the assistant coach constantly asking for substitutions.
Yeah.
So I gave it for that reason. He kept talking and not the head coach. So, and then I had to say, this is why you're getting this. Oh, that's right. So anyway. All right, next one, end of set. So, you know, just right there. In high school, we rotate them after the first set, and then after the second one, well, if it's 2 out of 3, we send them to their benches. So, and then change of courts, yep. All right, any questions about the officials? Okay, line judges, their signals. So with your flag, and we'll go over more, if you are going to be a line judge, like we said, make sure you put it in the chat. And there will be another training for line judge, but we'll quickly go over theirs. When you're using your flag, remember it's an extension of your arm, so you try to keep it the same level as your arm. In is the same, it's one arm that goes down. Okay, thanks, Will. Out of bounds, just straight up, above there. Touch, it's kind of right under your chin, is where you put your arm up and holding the flag right under your chin. Antenna or foot fault, you're like flipping that flag to get the attention. And then you either point to the antenna or you point to the end line. So the flag is like, wait, I'm right here. I have something, and then point to what it is. And then if you happen to be out of view or you get blocked by a player, you can't see where the ball was or where it landed, then you would make the, I don't know, look. Don't use that one too often though. You'll lose credibility from your R1. So